Are you over 60 and snacking on nuts, thinking they're a perfect health food? Well, what if I told you that some of the nuts you might be enjoying regularly could actually be working against your health goals, potentially causing discomfort or even contributing to long-term issues you're already dealing with? It's a surprising truth, isn't it? When we've been told for so long how wonderful nuts are, the painful reality is that as we get older, our bodies change, how we digest food, how medications interact, and how prone we are to certain conditions all shift, and some seemingly innocent foods, including certain popular nuts, can interact with these changes in ways we don't expect. You might be experiencing bloating, digestive upset, or other subtle issues and never connect it back to that handful of nuts you had. In this video, we're going to look at 3 incredibly popular nuts that many people over 60 eat regularly, and we'll uncover why they might not be the best choice for everyone in our age group. We'll talk about the specific reasons they could potentially harm your health, and what you might consider eating instead, or how to enjoy them more safely if you choose to. This isn't about banning nuts entirely. It's about making informed choices for your unique body at this stage of life. It's about understanding the nuances of nutrition as we age. Stick around, because I'm going to share something towards the end that might truly surprise you about how simple tweaks can make a significant difference. Let's start with the first nut that might be less friendly to your body than you think, especially after 60. And that's the humble peanut. Now, I know what you're thinking. Peanuts are technically legumes, not tree nuts. But in the culinary world and how we consume them, they're treated just like nuts, often found right alongside almonds and walnuts in the snack aisle. They're incredibly popular, affordable, and tasty, whether roasted, salted, in butter, or mixed into trail mix. For years, peanuts have been a go-to snack for many, but here's where the potential issues for those over 60 can come in. First, let's talk about inflammation. Peanuts are relatively high in omega-6 fatty acids. Now, omega-6 fats aren't inherently bad. We need them. The problem arises when our diet has too many omega-6s compared to beneficial omega-3s, which are found in things like fatty fish, flax seeds, and walnuts. This imbalance can contribute to chronic inflammation in the body. Chronic inflammation is linked to so many age-related health problems, from heart disease and arthritis to cognitive decline. If you're already dealing with inflammatory conditions, a daily peanut habit, especially in large quantities, could potentially make things worse or hinder your body's ability to heal. It's not about peanuts being inflammatory on their own, but about how they fit into the overall balance of fats in your diet, which for many seniors might already be skewed towards omega-6s from other common foods. Another concern, and one that's perhaps less talked about in general nutrition advice, but important as we age, is the potential for certain contaminants, specifically aflatoxins. Aflatoxins are toxic compounds produced by certain molds, Aspergillus flavus and Aspergillus parasiticus, which can grow on crops like peanuts if they are stored improperly, especially in warm, humid conditions. While regulatory bodies in many countries monitor aflatoxin levels in commercially sold peanuts, they are not always completely eliminated, and homemade or less regulated sources might have higher levels. For younger, healthier individuals, small exposures might not be a major issue, as the liver can process and detoxify them reasonably well. However, as liver function can sometimes decline slightly with age, or if you have pre-existing liver conditions, repeated exposure to even low levels of aflatoxins over time could potentially put a greater strain on your system and may be linked to an increased risk of liver problems. This risk is not unique to peanuts. Corn, cottonseed, and tree nuts can also be affected. But peanuts are particularly susceptible due to how and where they are grown and stored. This isn't meant to cause alarm about every peanut you eat, but it's a risk factor worth being aware of, especially if you're sourcing peanuts from places with less stringent quality control or storing them for very long periods in humid environments. Then there's the digestive aspect. While peanuts do contain fiber, which is good, they also have a relatively high fat content. For some people over 60, digestive enzyme production might not be as robust as it once was, or conditions like irritable bowel syndrome (IBS) or diverticulitis are more common. High-fat foods, including large servings of peanuts, can sometimes be harder to digest, leading to symptoms like bloating, gas, or even diarrhea in sensitive individuals. The texture of peanuts, especially if not chewed thoroughly, which can be an issue with dental changes or rushed eating, can also pose challenges. A handful of peanuts might be fine, but mindlessly snacking on a large bowl while watching television could lead to discomfort later. Finally, let's not forget the potential for allergies. While peanut allergies are often diagnosed in childhood, it's possible for allergies to develop later in life, or for existing sensitivities to become more pronounced. An allergic reaction can range from mild itching or hives to severe anaphylaxis, which is a medical emergency. While this affects a smaller percentage of the population, the severity of potential reactions makes it a risk factor that shouldn't be ignored, especially when trying a new product containing peanuts, or if you have a history of other allergies. So, how can you navigate the peanut situation if you love peanuts and don't experience any issues? Moderation is key. A small handful, about a quarter cup a few times a week, is very different from eating a large bag daily. Choosing unsalted, dry roasted peanuts is generally better than oil roasted and heavily salted varieties, reducing excess sodium and potentially less healthy added fats. Pay attention to how you feel after eating them. If you notice digestive upset, inflammation flare-ups, or any other adverse reactions, it might be a sign that peanuts aren't the best fit for your body right now. Consider opting for other nuts that offer different nutrient profiles and might be easier on your system. For example, almonds offer calcium and vitamin E. Walnuts are packed with omega-3s, and Brazil nuts provide selenium. It's about finding the nuts that nourish your body without causing hidden stress or discomfort. Now that we've taken a closer look at peanuts and why they might pose some considerations for seniors, let's move on to our second popular nut on the list, the cashew. Cashews are incredibly popular for their creamy texture and sweet flavor. They're found in everything from trail mixes and snack bags to dairy-free cheeses and creamy sauces. They seem innocent enough. Right, like peanuts, they offer some beneficial nutrients, including magnesium, zinc, and certain vitamins. However, for people over 60, there are a couple of specific aspects of cashews that warrant consideration. One key point is their oxalate content. Oxalates are natural compounds found in many plant foods. In most people, oxalates pass through the digestive system and are eliminated. But in individuals who are prone to kidney stones, oxalates combine with calcium and form crystals, which can lead to calcium oxalate kidney stones, the most common type of kidney stone. While not everyone will develop kidney stones from eating oxalate-rich foods, if you have a history of them, or if kidney health is a concern for you, which becomes more common with age, consuming large quantities of high oxalate foods like cashews on a regular basis could potentially increase your risk or contribute to stone formation. Cashews are considered moderately high in oxalates compared to some other nuts. It's not just cashews. Of course, other foods like spinach, rhubarb, almonds, and chocolate are also high in oxalates. But if cashews are a daily go-to snack for you, especially in significant amounts, and you have a predisposition to kidney stones, this is something to be mindful of. Another point to consider with cashews is their fat profile and how they are often consumed. Compared to some other nuts like walnuts or almonds, cashews have a slightly higher proportion of saturated fat, although they are still primarily a source of monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats. While dietary saturated fat has been a topic of much debate, current guidelines generally recommend limiting intake, especially for individuals managing cholesterol levels or heart health, which are common concerns in the over 60 age group. More significantly, cashews are very often sold roasted and salted. This means you're not just getting the nut. You're also getting added oils, often less healthy vegetable oils used for roasting, and a significant amount of sodium. Excess sodium intake is a major contributor to high blood pressure, a prevalent condition among seniors and a key risk factor for heart attack and stroke. Mindlessly snacking on salted cashews can quickly push you over your daily recommended sodium limit, potentially undermining efforts to manage blood pressure through diet. Even dry roasted cashews often contain added salt, or sometimes a small amount of added oil for flavor and texture. Furthermore, like peanuts, the richness and fat content of cashews can be challenging for some senior digestive systems. The creamy texture might seem easier, But the fat load can still lead to discomfort, particularly if enzyme function is reduced or if gut motility is slower. Eating them slowly and chewing thoroughly can help. But for some, smaller portions or less frequent consumption might be necessary to avoid bloating or indigestion. So, if you enjoy cashews, what's the best approach? Again, moderation is crucial. Enjoy a small handful occasionally, rather than making them a daily staple, especially if you have kidney stone issues or are closely monitoring your saturated fat and sodium intake. Look for unsalted, raw cashews if possible. Raw cashews are often easier to digest for some people and, of course, contain no added salt or oils, if you prefer them roasted. Consider roasting them yourself at home without added oil or salt. This allows you to control exactly what you're eating. Pay attention to your body's signals. If you notice digestive issues or suspect they might be contributing to other health concerns, talk to your doctor or a registered dietitian. They can help you assess your overall diet and determine if cashews or other foods might be playing a role. Remember, for some, cashews might be perfectly fine in moderation, but understanding these potential issues allows you to make a more informed decision about whether they are the right nut for your specific health needs as you navigate your 60s and beyond. Now, let's move on to the third and final popular nut we're highlighting today, and that's the pistachio. Pistachios are loved for their distinctive flavor, vibrant green color, and the fun of shelling them. They contain beneficial nutrients like vitamin B6, potassium, and antioxidants. They're often marketed as a healthy snack. However, similar to cashews, one of the biggest potential downsides of pistachios for people over 60 is related to how they are typically processed and consumed. Salt. Walk down the snack aisle, and you'll find that the vast majority of pistachios available are roasted and heavily salted. We've already discussed the impact of excess sodium on blood pressure, which is a significant concern for a large portion of the senior population. A single serving of salted pistachios can contain a considerable amount of sodium, sometimes several hundred milligrams. Snacking on these regularly can make it difficult to stay within recommended daily sodium limits, often around 1,500 milliliters or 2,300 milliliters, depending on health status. High sodium intake forces your body to retain water, increasing blood volume and putting extra strain on your heart and blood vessels. Over time, this can lead to or worsen hypertension, while some people are less sensitive to dietary sodium than others. The general recommendation for heart health, especially as we age, is to minimize excess salt intake. If you're actively trying to manage your blood pressure through diet, reaching for a large bag of salted pistachios is counterproductive. Another consideration with pistachios, although perhaps less common, is the potential for mold contamination. Similar to peanuts and other nuts, while aflatoxin contamination in pistachios is less frequent than in peanuts, it can still occur if they are not harvested or stored correctly. Regulations aim to control this, but it remains a potential risk factor, particularly with shelling pistachios yourself, as mold might not always be visible externally, but could be present on the kernel or inside the shell. For individuals with compromised immune systems or certain liver conditions, minimizing potential exposure to such contaminants is prudent. Again, this isn't about causing panic, but acknowledging a potential, albeit lower, risk compared to other nuts or foods. Like other nuts, pistachios are calorie-dense and contain fiber and fat. While the fiber is good for digestion, consuming very large quantities might still pose digestive challenges for some seniors, leading to gas or bloating. The act of shelling them can sometimes slow down consumption, which is a good thing, allowing your body time to register fullness. However, it's still easy to eat a large number over an extended period while distracted. So, what should you do if you love pistachios? The most impactful change you can make is to choose unsalted varieties. Unsalted pistachios are becoming more widely available, often found alongside their salted counterparts in health food stores or larger supermarkets. This eliminates the primary concern of excessive sodium intake. You still get all the beneficial nutrients and the satisfaction of cracking them open, without the added salt burden on your cardiovascular system. if you can only find salted ones. Try to limit your portion size strictly. Perhaps just a small handful, maybe 10 to 15 nuts, and only occasionally. Be very mindful of your overall sodium intake throughout the day if you do eat salted nuts. Another strategy is to pair them with foods that naturally balance out sodium, but it's generally easier and healthier to just opt for the unsalted version. Pay attention to how your body reacts after eating them, especially regarding digestion or blood pressure fluctuations if you're monitoring it. Choosing unsalted pistachios allows you to enjoy the nutritional benefits and taste without the major drawback for senior health that the added salt presents. So, we've talked about peanuts with their potential for inflammation, aflatoxins, and digestive upset. We've looked at cashews and the concerns around oxalates, saturated fat proportion, and especially the added salt and oils from processing. And we've just discussed pistachios, highlighting the significant issue of added sodium in most commercially available options and a smaller risk of mold contamination. Now, I want to be clear, this isn't about saying these nuts are universally bad or that you must avoid them completely forever. For many people over 60, a small, unsalted, correctly stored portion of any of these nuts occasionally might be perfectly fine. The key message here, the big takeaway, is awareness and moderation, especially concerning how they are prepared: salt, oil, and how much you are eating. As we age, our bodies become less resilient to dietary insults. What you could eat in large quantities at 30 or 40 might not be serving you well at 60 or 70. It's about making conscious choices. Are the potential downsides of a large serving of salted peanuts or cashews worth it when you're trying to manage blood pressure, reduce inflammation, or support kidney function? The exciting part about this isn't restriction, it's empowerment. By understanding these potential issues, you gain the power to choose alternatives or modify how you consume these nuts. Maybe you switch from salted peanuts to unsalted almonds or walnuts, which are packed with omega-3s. Maybe you try pumpkin seeds or sunflower seeds for a change, which offer different minerals. Maybe you decide that when you do eat cashews or pistachios, you'll only buy the raw, unsalted versions and enjoy them in smaller amounts as a treat, not a daily habit. Small, informed changes like this, made consistently, really can make a significant difference in how you feel day to day and in supporting your long-term health. It's about listening to your body, paying attention to how different foods make you feel, and adjusting accordingly. Don't be afraid to experiment with different types of nuts and seeds to see what works best for your digestion and overall well-being. Remember, your health journey at this age is about optimizing, not penalizing. It's about finding joy in healthy eating that supports your energy, your mobility, and your peace of mind. I hope this deep dive into these 3 popular nuts has been eye-opening and helpful. Understanding the nuances of nutrition as we age is so important, and it doesn't have to be complicated or overwhelming. Start with small steps. Maybe this week, you try switching your usual salted peanut snack for a few unsalted almonds and see how you feel. What are your favorite nuts or seeds to eat? Have you noticed any digestive issues or other effects from eating certain nuts? I'd love to hear your experiences and thoughts in the comments below. Sharing helps everyone learn and feel less alone on their health journey. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It really supports the channel and helps more people find this information. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos packed with practical tips and insights for living your best life over 60. Remember, it's never too late to make positive changes that can impact your health and happiness significantly. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep living your best life at every age.